Chicago, 1939.
We're here.
Homem negro.
Give me a lift, Bigger. I'm wobbly.
Uma mulher branca.
Bigger, help me, Bigger. I'm stuck.
Se você compreende a América de 1939,
My hat. I dropped my hat.
você está incrivelmente receioso por essas pessoas.
Well, I suppose I better go to bed.
Can you make it?
Sure, turn me loose. I sure am drunk.
Let me help you.
Esta é uma história cruel. Verdade brutal tão velha quanto a América, que simplesmente não vai embora. Filho Nativo. Grandes livros. No fim da Segunda Guerra Mundial, a segregação racial ainda era a ordem social de fato no norte e de direito no sul. Foi um tempo de verdadeira opressão para 12 milhões de afro-americanos. Um homem, um escritor, observou a contenção da raiva e preveniu sobre o que viria. Wright era o seu nome. Filho Nativo foi o seu aviso.
Native Son is a powerful book. It made a tremendous impact when it was first published. It became a bestseller. It hit some nerve. The book can still be read with intensity. It is still very accurate. If no other subject but the rage, that pent-up rage, and the inevitability of that rage exploding, and the question of who does it hit, who does it hurt, where does it go?
Publicado em 1940, Filho Nativo conta a história de Bigger Thomas, um jovem negro cuja família mudou-se do sul para um gueto na zona sul de Chicago. Empobrecido, frustrado e objeto de implacável desrespeito pela América branca, Bigger despreza o papel escravo que lhe é ditado. Ele é instável, facilmente violento e amedrontado. E é esse medo que o leva ao seu destino.
Perhaps the chief source of its power is its fearlessness. Wright presents a grim and uncompromising and unflinching portrait of racism at work in America, and above all, how it feels to be black and to be victimized.
Um tédio frustrante é a atmosfera real nesta parte da cidade. E então, a raiva explode com facilidade.
Hey, Doc.
Hey, you boys in here a little early, ain't you?
Jack and GH around?
No, I ain't seen them. Hey, let's shoot a game, Biggie.
I'm broke.
Hey, I got some money. Okay. Say, Biggie, you taking that job you was telling us about?
I don't know.
Well, you talking as if you don't want it.
Hell yes, I want it. Hey, remember what we talked about?
No, what?
Old blooms.
Hey, we ain't talked about that in a month. Why you thinking that all of a sudden?
Let's clean the place out.
Hey, I don't know, Biggie.
It was your plan in the first place. Oh, you scared. 'Cause he's white, you're scared.
Hey, the hell I'm scared.
Listen, you don't even have to go in. You just stand outside at the door and keep watch, see? Me, Doc, and Jack, and GH, we'll go in. If anybody comes, you whistle, and we'll go out the back, that's all.
Here comes Jack now.
Hey, what you boys doing?
He has a great ear, and the dialogue of the young men in the pool room works very well. You're in every pool room in every black community. And his insight into the rituals and the forms of African American folklore is exceedingly acute.
Alienado e ressentido, Bigger Thomas e outros como ele brotaram do duro cenário das cidades norte-americanas.
Look, what? That plane right in the sky. Looks just like a bird.
Yeah, those white boys sure can fly.
Yeah, they get a chance to do everything. I could fly a plane if I had a chance.
If you take Bigger and try to look at him as any one person, I think we do the book, we do Wright a disservice. He is a composite. He is a man for all seasons, a man for all colors. He is many men. Wright intended him to be that way.
O personagem de Bigger foi baseado em homens que Richard Wright encontrou em suas próprias experiências. Wright nasceu em Natchez, Mississippi, em 1908. Seu pai e sua mãe eram meeiros. A vida de um meeiro tinha todas as armadilhas da escravidão. Era cruelmente dura, limitada pela força e por leis discriminatórias conhecidas como Jim Crow.
That was a veritable hell. It was a way of life determined entirely by Jim Crow. Jim Crow schools, houses, cemeteries, water fountains, everything laid out in a Jim Crow fashion. Nothing for the black man, everything for the white man.
O racismo sulista era implacável e insuportável. Era um beco sem saída nas primeiras décadas do século XX. Mas depois da Primeira Guerra Mundial, a possibilidade de empregos nas fábricas do Norte ofereciam uma saída e causaram uma grande migração de afro-americanos àquela região. Os Wrights faziam parte do grupo. A família mudou-se primeiro a Memphis, onde o pai de Richard os abandona. Richard, sua mãe e uma tia finalmente encontram o caminho para Chicago.
What Wright captures in Native Son is the migration paradigm. Thousands and thousands of black people moving from the South, rural South, to the urban North. Wright had experienced that same thing, and so Bigger Thomas is that model. Born in Mississippi, moving to Chicago. That mode of migration is what characterized the lives of people in that period. That is one of the things that made that book enormously popular.
Uma vez em Chicago, os negros recém-chegados eram direcionados a uma parte do sul da cidade, que passou a chamar-se Black Belt.
When Wright arrived in Chicago, it was a striking contrast to Mississippi. Chicago was thought to be, from the deep Egyptian perspective of Mississippi, something of a Canaan, a promised land. But Chicago, of course, was not Canaan, and it was especially not Canaan on the south side. The kitchenette apartment, a single room with maybe a corner kitchen and a bathroom in the hallway, was pretty much standard housing. It was the kind of housing that Wright himself and his mother and aunt had to endure.
A desilusão chegou rapidamente. Mas, de uma certa forma, Chicago ainda era uma grande melhoria. As pessoas negras ainda estavam limitadas a trabalhos servis e subservientes. Para alguns, como Bigger, era apenas mais um atalho para o mesmo tão conhecido inferno. Em 1938, Wright publicou um livro de contos, incluindo um sobre o Big Boy, um protótipo mais suave de Bigger Thomas. O novelista James T. Farrell elogiou o realismo corajoso de Wright, mas Wright achou que não tinha sido forte bastante.
Eu escrevi um livro que filhas de banqueiros podem ler, chorar e se sentir bem. Eu jurei que se escrevesse outro, ninguém choraria, mas seria tão duro e profundo que as pessoas teriam que encará-lo cara a cara, sem o consolo de lágrimas.
O Filho Nativo manteria aquela promessa.
Thomas? Bigger Thomas?
Yes, sir.
Come this way. Sit down.
Yes, sir.
Henry.
Are you all right?
Yes.
Where's Mary?
She's upstairs. I'm quite all right, Henry.
That's Mrs. Dalton. She's blind.
Oh, yes, sir.
She has a very deep interest in colored people.
Yes, sir.
Do you like driving a car?
Os Daltons eram a epítome dos brancos ricos e bem-intencionados da época. Mr. Dalton era, por acaso, apenas o proprietário do prédio onde vivia a família Thomas.
Mr. Dalton is a slumlord. At the same time, he makes contributions to the NAACP to assuage his conscience.
Well, they tell me you can drive a car. And I'm going to give you the job. Think you can handle it?
Yes, sir.
I think we'll get along.
Yes, sir.
I don't think there'll be any trouble.
Oh, no, sir.
O trabalho de Bigger é o de transportar de carro a filha dos Daltons à escola. É a primeira vez que ele está a sós com uma mulher branca.
Bigger, is that you? Thank you.
Is that your university school out of the Midway, ma'am?
Yes, that's the one.
Bigger Thomas is accommodating. He's the servant, he's the driver. He says what people want him to say. He is fearful. He doesn't quite know how to act. So to a certain extent, he's reluctant to respond. So that fear drives him.
Got a match?
Yes, sir.
Strike it. You're not a tattletale, are you? I'm not going to the university. I want you to drive me to the Loop. But if anyone should ask, then I went to the university. See, Bigger?
Yes, sir. It's all right with me, ma'am.
I think I can trust you.
Yes, sir.
After all, I'm on your side. I'm going to meet a friend of mine who's also a friend of yours.
Friend of mine?
Take it easy, Bigger. You'll understand it by and by. Isn't there a song like that? A song you people sing?
Oh, yes, sir.
So if you look at that section where Bigger Thomas is driving Mary Dalton, all of that is the personification of racism in America and the impact that it's had on our image of black people.
Oh, Bigger, this is Jan. Jan, this is Bigger Thomas.
How are you, Bigger?
I'm fine.
Come on and shake. We may as well get to know each other. I'm a friend of Mary's.
Yes, sir.
First of all, don't call me sir. I'll call you Bigger and you call me Jan. How's that?
It's all right, Bigger. Jan means it.
Let me drive a while.
It's all right, Bigger.
No, stay in and move over.
Move over, Bigger.
With Jan on his left and Mary on his right, his initial and overpowering response is one of fear. He feels that he is enclosed between, as the novel puts it, two white looming walls of hate. Not understanding, being suspicious of, made embarrassed by and nervous by their overtures of friendship.
What a glorious night.
God, yes. This is a beautiful world, Bigger. We'll own it someday, Bigger. After the revolution, it'll be ours. But we'll have to fight for it, Bigger. And when that day comes, things will be different. There'll be no white and no black. There'll be no rich and no poor.
We seem strange to you, don't we, Bigger?
Oh, no, ma'am.
A revolução que Jan prediz é a Revolução Comunista. Nos anos 30, os comunistas norte-americanos estavam no auge de seu poder. Seu partido era legal, com representação em alguns governos locais, e eles pregavam com algum efeito contra o capitalismo, apontando a Grande Depressão como prova de seu fracasso. Eles procuravam por aqueles a quem o capitalismo havia falhado. Sem surpresas, eles conquistaram o interesse do jovem Richard Wright.
The Communist Party would be seductive, but it was seductive to a whole lot of people. And it was seductive because there was some sense being made of a chaotic and threatening situation that nobody else was even trying to deal with.
The Communist Party offered Wright literary opportunity. He was unrecognized in the early 30s, and the opportunity came in 1934 to join the John Reed Club of Chicago. This was his first close contact with white people, and he found them quite unlike the racists of the Deep South. He found them cordial, he found them encouraging, he found them supportive. In fact, so pleased were they to have a black member that he was promptly nominated and elected as president of the Chicago John Reed Club.
Como membro do Reed Club, Wright escreveu poesia para publicações comunistas. Os comunistas estavam impressionados com seus esforços, mas ele, por outro lado, rapidamente percebeu as limitações do seu partido.
Anything about black people. They had a lot of talk, they had a lot of principles and beliefs, but they really didn't understand the black experience. Wright knew that.
You know, Bigger, we'd like to be a friend of yours. You'll get used to us.
Listen, Bigger, I have some pamphlets here. I want you to read them, see? I really want you to read them. We'll have a talk about them in a couple of days.
I'll see to it he reads them.
We're here.
Bigger, give me a lift. I'm wobbly. Help me, Bigger, I'm stuck.
Mary is white. She is the flower of white womanhood, as it were. Here is Bigger, the big black brute in the stereotypical form. So that there should not be a relationship between them.
Oh. My hat. Bigger, where's my hat? I suppose I better go to bed now.
Can you make it?
Sure. Turn me loose. I sure am drunk.
Let me help you.
The scene when Bigger brings Mary back home after partying with Jan is loaded in many ways. It becomes a love scene which becomes quite subversive. The white woman is helpless. She's in the black man's hands. So you have everything from versions of Uncle Tom's Cabin to King Kong, all collapsed into that single scene. So it's very erotic. He's turned on, but yet at the same time he's opening the door to chaos, and he knows it.
We're here.
Is that you? Mary, is that you? Mary, are you ill? Mary? you asleep? I heard you moving about, and Oh, you're dead drunk. You stink like whiskey.
It's a very frustrating moment, very frustrating moment. And I think it's the moment that America wasn't ready for, because it is a love scene. And I don't think Wright could bring it to any other conclusion.
Para se livrar do corpo, Bigger teve que decepar a cabeça de Mary para colocá-la na fornalha.
That's a real psychotic thing. My reaction to that was worse than picking her up and taking her in the house. Pushing her in that furnace, that's bad.
Após queimar o corpo de Mary, Bigger escreve bilhete de resgate e assina vermelho, para envolver Jem e os comunistas.
They've got Mary.
No bilhete, Bigger dá detalhes do local para entrega do dinheiro, que seria pego por sua namorada Bessie. Mas antes que os Daltons entreguem o dinheiro de resgate, um repórter examina o porão e faz uma descoberta medonha. Bigger sabe que será acusado pela morte de Mary. Assim, ele sai para encontrar Bessie e ambos fogem rapidamente.
It is Bigger's racial fear that precipitates his flight. He is fleeing from justice, quote unquote, a fugitive from justice, but he is at the same time fleeing toward his fate.
Fugindo para salvar suas vidas, Bigger e Bessie ainda estão presos no gueto negro. Eles se abrigam num velho armazém. Bessie, paralisada de medo, tenta acalmar Bigger.
Bessie, unroll and spread out.
Because Bessie is Bigger's girlfriend, she becomes defined as an object. The relationships between men and women at that point in time, and I think in Richard Wright's mind, would not have allowed Bessie to have a more prominent role.
I thought it'd never be like this.
It won't always be like this.
I just as soon die right now.
Say that.
When I'm cold all over, feel I never get warm. Bigger, please. Bigger, stop. Bigger, stop. Bigger, stop. Bigger.
It is important to understand that Wright's vision was a black male vision. It is one that helps to clarify many things, even if it is one that it excludes other kinds of issues that we'd like to consider. But it is a black male vision. It is the only one that Wright could possibly have.
Bessie knows everything about him, and Bessie knows what to tell the police. And he couldn't allow Bessie to live. He felt that he had to destroy Bessie to get rid of the businesses behind him.
The killing of Bessie is really very different from the killing of Mary Dalton, which is by accident. The killing of Bessie, the girlfriend, is a deliberate act. It's an act, I think, that in a sense reconstructs Richard Wright's relationship to women in general. But I think in political terms, it's a most destructive act.
Bigger's quite clear about why he kills Bessie. He kills her because it's her or me. So clearly Wright is telling us that this woman, this Bessie, is Bigger, a part of Bigger that he hates, a part of Bigger that stands in the way of the next step in his personal evolution.
Many people have made it a racial thing, that he didn't mean to kill that white girl. He knew what that would do to him. But he didn't mind killing the black girl. There wasn't going to be anything done about that at all.
Bigger consegue iludir a polícia, escondendo-se em prédios abandonados, mas acaba eventualmente encurralado num telhado.
When Bigger is finally captured, he's powerless. He's been trapped. It's gothic because it happens at night, and it's almost like a Hollywood premiere because there's searchlights on him. Again, echoes of King Kong at the top of the Empire State Building.
Hey, you, stop!
Bigger becomes not an individual, not a single person, but the quarry of the culture. And it's clear that the forces closing in on him are forces that have just this immense power. And he never had a chance.
Sit down, Bigger. Say, how do you feel?
Não obstante a tentativa de Bigger em incriminá-lo, Jen, o amigo de Mary, consegue um advogado comunista chamado Boris Max.
I bought you some clothes. When they give them to you in the morning, put them on. You want to look your best when you go up for arraignment. What's on your mind, Bigger?
Nothing.
There's the weight, the symbolic weight of this meeting between Max and Bigger at the end of the novel. And that the weight is the philosophical ideas and the issues that these two men have to talk about. But if you hear two puppets, or if you watch two puppets sort of just being mouthpieces for Wright's ideas, then the scene doesn't work at all. You have to feel Bigger. You have to be inside of him.
I want to be honest with you, Bigger. The only way out of this is to plead guilty. We can ask for mercy, life in prison.
I'd rather die.
Nonsense. You want to live.
For what?
Don't you want to fight this thing?
What can I do? They got me.
You don't want to die that way, Bigger.
Don't matter which way I die.
Listen, Bigger, you're facing a sea of hate now, but you've got to fight it. If they wipe you out, they'll wipe out others, too.
Yeah, but I can't win.
Bigger, do you trust me?
You can't help me, Mr. Max!
But do you trust me?
I don't know, Mr. Max.
Max represents a political, intellectual, sociological explanation of racism. But Wright is suggesting that there is another dimension, and that is the psychological dimension, the emotive dimension, the feeling.
Wright jogou-se em Filho Nativo, uma novela naturalista na sua maior parte, com um naturalismo moldado para acomodar sua mensagem.
Eu era guiado apenas por um critério, dizer a verdade como a via, como a sentia. O que eu desejava dizer ao leitor era mais importante do que uma realidade aparente ou plausibilidade.
Wright enviou o manuscrito à sua casa editora em junho de 1939. Ele esperava o pior e, por alguma razão, certamente. Filho Nativo era demais para ser digerido pela Norte-América branca. Ele estava errado. O livro foi sucesso imediato. Num período de 2 semanas, havia vendido mais de 200 mil cópias. A estrela de Richard Wright finalmente despontara.
It had such an instant success. The novel's power did strike a responsive chord. Some people were scandalized, some people were appalled, but they bought the book and read it because no other writer, black or white, had ever dealt with the race issue in this way.
Em 24 de março de 1941, Filho Nativo estreou como peça na Broadway, dirigida por Orson Welles. Hollywood também mostrou interesse na história.
MGM approached Wright with an offer of $50,000 for the screen rights to Native Son, with the proviso, however, that in order to make the film tolerable to a mass movie audience, certain changes would have to be made. Most importantly, Bigger had to be white.
A integridade de seu trabalho valia bem mais para Wright do que a oferta da MGM. Ele disse não. Richard era consistentemente dono de si mesmo. E na cena final de Filho Nativo, ele passava isso para Bigger.
Hello, Bigger. How you feeling? Did you get my wire? I'm sorry, son.
You ain't to blame for what's happening to me, Mr. Max. I know you did all you could. I just reckon I had this coming to me.
Is there anything I can do for you, Bigger?
Bigger by this time is his own person. He doesn't need the communist defense. Wright has already written a book that has been faithful to his view of a society that is driven by racism, that creates people like Bigger Thomas.
Mr. Max, how can I die? But I won't be crying when they're taking me to that chair. But I'll be feeling inside of me like I was crying. I'll be feeling and thinking that they didn't see me, and I didn't see them. Mr. Max, you going home. I ain't trying to forgive nobody. They wouldn't let me live and I killed. Maybe it ain't fair to kill, and I reckon I really didn't want to kill. But when I think of why all the killing was, I begin to feel what I wanted, what I am. What I killed for must have been good.
Goodbye, Bigger.
Bigger compreende que, ao matar, ele cessou de ser meramente uma vítima. De um modo perverso, ele assumiu o controle de sua própria vida.
He has become his crime and has taken the weight of it, and he's going to die, and that's the hard, cruel truth, and he can look at it, and Max can't.
Bigger says, I kill, and that is what I am. And his Communist Party attorney doesn't understand that, doesn't understand that Bigger has achieved a consciousness which goes again beyond Marxist theory.
Pelas mesmas razões, Richard Wright e os comunistas rompem o acordo. O partido não entendia mais Filho Nativo do que Max entendia Bigger. Enquanto o livro era grandemente elogiado por outros, a resposta comunista foi notavelmente fria. O FBI tinha se interessado por Richard Wright e não somente por ele ser comunista. Wright escreveu o texto para um filme sobre a experiência negra na América do Norte. Foi publicado em outubro de 1941 e continha a seguinte frase:
Existem aqueles que sentem a necessidade de proteção de uma nação forte tão vivamente que admiramos a agressividade, as normas imperialistas do Japão e, com fervor, esperamos que os japoneses assumam a liderança das raças escuras.
Once he's beyond the confines of the Communist Party, particularly in the war years, because the war years are marked by the recognition that the loyalty of Black Americans is an issue.
20 milhões de vozes negras estavam em todas as livrarias em 7 de dezembro, quando os japoneses bombardearam Pearl Harbor. Richard Wright seria um homem espiado pelo resto da vida. Após o sucesso de Filho Nativo, Wright publicou seu trabalho autobiográfico, Menino Negro, também um best-seller. Ele mudou-se para Greenwich Village, em Nova York, para enfrentar a pressão de seus vizinhos e do FBI. Assim, com o término da Segunda Grande Guerra, Wright muda-se para Paris. Após morar lá por uma semana, ele comentou que havia mais liberdade para um homem negro numa quadra de Paris do que em todos os Estados Unidos.
He discovered a tremendous freedom, which he, of course, had not been able to enjoy in the States, even in the northern part of the States. He enjoyed the Paris atmosphere. He enjoyed a very friendly welcome by the French intellectuals and by the French people at large.
Wright tornou-se amigo de Gertrude Stein, outra expatriada, sendo recebido por luminares como Jean-Paul Sartre e Albert Camus. Ele participou de seus encontros e começou a explorar o movimento existencialista, popular àquela época. Existencialismo pode ter sido uma nova palavra para Wright, mas não era uma nova ideia. A proposta de que o homem torna-se o que ele faz é a dura constatação a que Bigger chegou. Em Paris, Wright começou a trabalhar numa espécie de consequência, o homem de fora.
In a sense, Bigger Thomas has grown up. So that big boy from Uncle Tom's Children, who becomes bigger in Native Son, is now a fully grown man who's much more assertive and aggressive, and it takes charge of his own fate. Now, at the end of Native Son, we see that evolution, that consciousness in Bigger. Here in The Outsider, we begin with someone who is able to take charge and recreate his own existence.
Mas o homem de fora foi mal compreendido e não fez muito sucesso.
The audience for that kind of curiously intellectual book did not exist. The passion and the power were there, but the particularity that Wright had brought to Native Son was perhaps different.
And so they didn't look real closely at what actually was there. And it's too bad, because Wright was one of the most adventurous intellectuals among our fiction writers at that time. And he was a breath of fresh air because of his continental connections, because of his awareness of this, what he helped name Third World. And he was bringing much into our fiction. But everybody wanted Son of Native Son.
Wright tinha 44 anos de idade em 1953, quando dirigiu sua atenção para os movimentos de liberação na África e na Ásia. Ele escreveu muitos trabalhos de não-ficção e, embora tenham sido criticamente aplaudidos, nenhum provocou o efeito de Filho Nativo. Com sua celebridade se apagando, Wright viu que a liberdade que havia gozado inicialmente em Paris estava desaparecendo e ele ainda era artigo de interesse para agências de inteligência, desde a CIA até o Serviço Secreto francês.
Now, Wright was a bit cautious when he was speaking, when he was giving lectures or interviews in France. Because if you were a foreigner and spoke against French policy in the colonies, the French colonies, especially in Algeria, you were very likely to be expelled or run in trouble with the French government.
When he commented to a black friend of his, an artist named Ollie Harrington, that he wouldn't be surprised if his apartment weren't bugged, Harrington said, "Oh, don't be paranoid, Dick," but he got together with some friends, hired a French technician to survey the apartment. His apartment was bugged.
Após esse incidente, Wright mudou-se. Vendeu sua casa na Rue des Plantes e mudou-se para bem longe do Quartier Latin, pequeno apartamento na Rue Rasseau.
On top of that, he was sick. He had caught amoebic dysentery either in Jakarta or in Ghana, and he'd been treated for some time, even for a couple of years without much result, and his tensions grew.
So he writes to several of his friends at the beginning of 1960, "If something happens to me, you will all know what it's about."
Em 1960, Wright sentia-se enfermo e recusava todos os convites para palestras. Contudo, fez uma apresentação em Paris em 8 de novembro sobre a situação dos artistas e intelectuais negros. Queixava-se de que eram manipulados por espiões e provocadores do governo norte-americano. A saúde de Wright continuava a deteriorar-se e, tendo se distanciado de outros expatriados, contava com poucos amigos.
Was visiting Paris as he often did, and he went to see Wright when Wright was pretty sick.
He went to this little clinic, Eugene Gibet. The first night he was there for testing and treatment, he died.
Amoebic dysentery, while it is a serious medical ailment, should not cause somebody to die. At the same time, the stress of his life at that point was certainly enough to cause a heart attack, which is what the public was told he died from.
I think of all those paranoid things that radicals in the 60s were saying, the Panthers, the Weathermen, et cetera, et cetera. And it turns out that those paranoid fantasies, in fact, were grounded in the actual dirty tricks that people like the COINTELPRO and the FBI and the Secret Service. So who knows? Who knows?
I tend towards the Wright was killed end of the continuum, where people like Michel Fabre, as you know, I think one of Wright's most important biographers, still believes that there is no basis for accepting conspiracy theory of Wright's death.
My conclusion was that the pressures put upon him probably hastened his death. The pressures put upon him by the spies, by the problems he had to contend with as a committed writer. But I hesitate, contrary to the people who think that he was killed by the CIA, to conclude along that line, mostly because what he was doing, in my opinion, was not enough to warrant his being killed. I mean, if any proof or whatever was discovered, I would be ready to believe it.
Começando com Filho Nativo, as atividades literárias de Richard Wright estenderam-se por 3 décadas. Seu trabalho influenciou escritores em todo o mundo.
Wright gives us a legacy of liberation. It is the liberation of the writing process, the bringing together of politics and art, the fearlessness in doing it at a time when he could have easily been banished for life. So that sort of bravery was, as I said, it was liberating. And I think it was that sense of liberation that he, in fact, passed on to others.
Bigger Thomas, a character of the Chicago South Side, has been multiplied 1,000-fold and armed not simply with a pistol or a knife or a pool cue, but now with automatic weapons, with AK-47s, with Uzi. which is to say that the problems that Wright alerted us to so forcefully in 1940 in his great novel have yet to be resolved. The agenda is still before us.
O historiador Irving Howell disse sobre o trabalho mais bem-sucedido de Wright: o dia em que Filho Nativo apareceu, transformou a cultura norte-americana para sempre. Ele tornou impossível a repetição de velhas mentiras e trouxe à luz, como ninguém anteriormente, o ódio, o medo e a violência que têm aleijado e que podem ainda destruir nossa cultura.